you were in review, so I want to break that connection. Where exactly was the Thursday class? On the inside.
Abdallah.
We were.
Yeah, well, that's way back. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the middle of AyinBase 13 now. The Orient stuff was started here, and then.
I know where we up to as far as our class is concerned.
I'm saying that Thursday morning is in the middle of the page, the Orient stuff.
Okay.
I have a question.
One minute. Okay, we will start. This is just above the middle of the page, AyinBase 13. The line starts with the mayhakodem.
Got
it.
Yes?
Is there an equivalent page for this in the old edition?
Oh, I think it's Kuf Samach Ches or so.
Just above the beginning.
Kuf Samach?
Ches.
Thank you, Alex.
Or something like that. On that page there is a paragraph begins with Hadugma Mizeh. And the paragraph before that. Okay. We are talking about the Tzimtzum. And we discussed the Tzimtzum in the mashal of Rav of mashpia makabel. This is what the mashal that the Rebbe gives. Can you pass me the box, please? Thank you. The principle for the need of the tzimtzum is that the oir, as it is by the mashpia, or the oir as it is before the tzimtzum, cannot be correlated to the makabel, or in terms of the creation, correlated to world. It's an oil that is not in proximity, is in a different category than world. And we discussed this principle also. Perhaps that discussion we should review slightly. It requires real insight and have a sense. We discussed what is, in the mashal, what is the difference between the mashpia and the makabel? The mashpia and the makabel. And we explained that the principle of mashpia is not just a teacher. Then we called Rav and Talmid. Rav and Talmid is where the Talmid has the capacity to learn the Ayin that the Rav wants to teach, except he hasn't learned it yet. He doesn't know it, and the Rav gives him that information. He explains it to him, makes it possible for him to get into it. But the principle of that kind of information is something which is within the realm of the Talmud to learn. Mashpia makabel is a different relationship, a different effect. As the word mashpia implies, mashpia means he bestows. He doesn't just give him information. He bestows the sechel on him, which means that he actually gives him a reality, makes him able to understand it. He opens him up. it should be understood, as we spoke last time, that despite the fact that the mashpia, this is a mashpia, he is mashpia, actually gives him sechel, but he gives him sechel only because he too has sechel. He is a human being. As such, he has sechel. However, what is the reason to say that he is a human being, therefore he has sechel? It means because that his nefesh is a nefesh asichlis. But to reveal that sechel is like revealing it from non-existence. Like in our mashal of the man in the gutter, who does not express any qualms, any discomfort, any out of place present when he's lying in the gutter. He says, I'm satisfied over here. And we all agreed that even despite the fact that he says I'm satisfied, that's because his sechel is very secluded, very uninvolved. He is so depressed that he doesn't sense his own reality. But we know that in reality he doesn't want it. We know that he has sechel. How? Because he's a human being. What's a human being? The neshama that was imbued in him is a human neshama, is a sechel neshama. Wants to have human qualities. And it is, we clearly can see how difficult it is to draw the sechel from that source, from the neshama source, until it becomes a sechel, a functioning sechel. So, the mashal of the man in the gutter is an extreme mashal. A makabel is not at all in that category. And the proof of that is that the makabel is the one who is coming to the mashpia and says, please teach me. Which means he is aware of the meaning of sechel and he wants to be a makabel, and he dedicates himself to listening to getting the hashpah. So to that extent, definitely, in principle that he is a human being, by him is in full function. Now he has to reveal and understand what that is. How does that change his perspective on his life, perspective on the world, perspective on reality, and so forth. And this is what the mashpia has to reveal and bestow upon him this awareness and this knowledge. Now, the way this knowledge is by the mashpia, in that form and in that quality, it cannot be transmitted directly to Makabel, even though he has sechel. And the reason is, one would answer, oh sure, because Mashpia had already learned it and he already thought it through and so forth. But there is a fundamental difference. The fundamental difference is that by the Mashpia, this sechel is not a discovery. This is the level at which he lives. This is the level at which he normally thinks, like the Rebbe later says, he stands and this is where he is. In our way of thinking, our muscle for this, of grasping it, if somebody is on a mountain or somebody's on top of the Empire State Building and he wants to describe the street labyrinth, how the streets interrelate, the streets crisscross. Every crisscross that he's telling somebody below is a whole discovery. He has to reformulate the whole form and the whole order of things. Standing on top of the Empire State Building, we see the entire panorama, the entire setup directly. You don't even think in terms of crisscrossing. You see this is here, this is here, this is here, everything directly. The whole idea of organizing it is only in order to be able to transmit it. For yourself, you have no questions at all. This is how the mashpia has a sechel. The mashpia actually has a sechel from the neshama level. In fact, and we mentioned it also, I'm going to mention now, the reason that this one is a mashpia and this one is a makabel is not merely because he knows more than the makabel. Why not? What's wrong with that? You have to understand that when the mashpia gives the makabel his sechel, the makabel accepts the sechel verbatim, without an iota of doubt. This becomes a basic reality to him. But if it is based on sechel, sechel can always allows for variations. How is it that it becomes, this is the reality? This is, in fact, in Mashpia and Makabel, this becomes a reality of the Makabel. Like we've given examples from the Baba, from the Gemara, and Chassidus and Rebbe, this becomes a reality. How can it become reality if it's based on sechel? The answer is, by the Mashpia, it's not based on sechel. It's based on the reality of the neshama. As we explained, the principle of chokhmah, of sight, chokhmah, sight is not based on what you see, sight is based on what is being shown to you. There's a reality behind it. I don't want to go into this too far right now, but just want to. So this is what places the mashpia and the makabel in a totally different categories. And for the mashpia to transmit it from his vantage point would be useless. Like an example of the Empire State Building view of the streets, he's not even going to go into the idea of this name, or that name, on this cross. It's right there, don't you see? It's right here. Everything is one big reality, and therefore he cannot transmit it to the Makabel. Not to transmit it to the Makabel, he has to have a tzimtzum. The tzimtzum means that he steps away and he removes this clarity, this view of the sechel from a higher perspective, from the neshama perspective. And he says it's as if he never understood anything. It's as if he never understood anything. And therefore, what comes after the tzimtzum is something which is totally different from that was before. And in what way is it different? That is the difference. The difference is that now it is being drawn, it is being recreated. It is an encounter, it is a discovery. This is when the mashpia himself begins to think about, so to speak, about the streets by name, and east, west, north, and south. And that then he can be mashpia to the makabel. So we explained that what happens with the tzimtzum is that that before the tzimtzum the oil is bli gvul, has no boundaries. We explained what's a gvul. in sechel, to understand anything, it's called hasoga. Just like you grab something physically. In order to grab something physically, you have to go to the boundary of that thing, to the gvul. Like we give you an example, you can pick up even a book. You can pick up the book from the book part. You have to pick up the book from outside of the book. Where does it start? What is the boundary? And then you can pick it up. And the same thing is in sechel. Hasoga means that you have to see the boundary. You have to see the limit. Where does it come from? Where does it start? And where does it go? But the oil before that is bli gvul. It's a reality itself. And then, so this is what happens, and there is also a tzimtzum, that the gvul element is concealed, and what surfaces is the gvul element. And the gvul comes out, as I said, in the form of an akuda, and this is where the hashpah for the Talmud comes. Okay, so I'm going to go inside slightly, whichever time is limited. The line begins with mayhakodem, and then there's a close parenthesis there. Or mikol mokoy. This is the important thing that we are struggling with the whole time.
So the line starts.
Mayhakodem. Or mikol mokoy. But yet still, this is the important point. Hamshoch as hakav, the kav, which is in the moshel from the Tav and Talmud of mashpia makabel is being given the sechel in an organized fashion. That's not kav. Kav means a line, not giving it in full glory and bli gvul in unlimited fashion in the reality point, but giving it in an organized fashion. This kav hu bibchinas kiruv me'ein seif. It retains bibchinas kiruv. It's in a close manner, in a manner that is close to the Ayin seif, me'ein seif from the Ayin seif shel fnei hatzimtzum. Kiruv me'ein seif shel fnei hatzimtzum. That's an interesting concept. It's not Ayin seif, and it's not Lifnei HaTzimtzum, because it was a tzimtzum. However, even though the tzimtzum was in such a fashion that there was completely removal of the oir, like we said in the moshel of the Talmud that as if he never understood anything. Nevertheless, there is an element that shows the connection between the kav and the oir seif. And this is exactly what the kav is being created at this juncture, from the Ayin seif into the kav. How is that? And this is the principle kiruv, that it is b'bchinas kiruv. It comes in a manner of closeness. And I'm going to explain now something which I failed to explain last time. So this thing comes in a matter of closeness. Once we have a tzimtzum, which means there is absolutely no sechel whatsoever, then we come straight into the darkness. In the darkness, we have, like I said, in the darkness, how do we identify things? By touch. There's absolutely no reality there. It's on a completely different level. It's not sechel. It's touch. What is touch? Touch is not a sechel experience. It's not seeing the reality. It is something which is imposed on you from a lower level, from a physical level, not from oyer, from a reality. Oyer, the first one is, why is it there? Not what's there. And why is it there? What does it stand for? What initiated? That you don't have at all. You only see the Metzias. It's there. This is how things would be if it were exclusively due to the Tzimtzum. And this is how our world operates. We don't know how the world, but our world, I would say, if we want to know things from a worldly perspective exclusively, then we don't know anything. We just know I touch it, so it's there. Total darkness. The kav is bivchinas kiruv mi'er ein sof. It has a quality of kiruv, which means, yes, indeed, I did not understand anything, but I did not lose a sense and recognition that it does have a source. Now, there is a reality behind it. This is the bivchinas kiruv.
And in the mashal, this would be like the mashpia's word is mashpa to the student.
Right. In the mashal, this goes even deeper than that. Why does not the student go to the mashpia? Why doesn't the student say, "I'll figure out myself"?
Mm-hmm.
I can touch things just as well as you could. I'll experiment with it and I'll find out how it works. So the Makama says, no, this will not tell me the truth about it. This will keep me locked in the gvul, in nothingness. This is the principle of Kirov. He stands in the Bechinas Kirov, close to the Ayin Yisod, which means he still draws from the Ayin Yisod. How would it happen after the Tzimtzum? And it's the last word. Shechoizer umeyer achar haTzimtzum. Now this Oyer Ein Sof comes back and Meir begins and shines after the Tzimtzum. Which means he illuminates this darkness from the source. But since that he had darkness, it is possible to discern what there is there. Okay, this is it for this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.